Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being back with me. This is Danielle Z, MFT in the making, motivator, and mental health maven. And I am here with Jenna today, and she specializes in perinatal mental health support, working with pregnant people and new moms in their postpartum journey to regulate their nervous systems and help them with, their bodies and listening to their bodies and helping them along the crazy, I'm not a parent yet. I know, Jenna, you are the crazy journey that parenting is and having a new child and making sure you're regulated throughout the way. So thank you so much for joining me, Jenna.
Yeah, totally. Thank you for having me. I think we just don't realize until we become parents or experience pregnancy, like how that experience and having a child is going to really push you into needing some skills if you don't already have them. And so I really work with parents and especially mothers to gain those skills and start to like understand and hear and trust and regulate and all the things that they might not have had to do or have gotten away with not knowing how to do before. And suddenly, as
Hmm.
a parent, you're like, oh gosh, like this is really important.
Yeah, well, I love that you brought up like tools and skills because I think like we live in an age now, and especially like parents now, right? And I actually had a conversation with somebody about this yesterday that like we have to be very hyper aware as like parents, especially because you're dealing with a little child or children or and people of like how we impact our state, right? Like our nervous system state, how that impacts other people around us, because that's like, co-regulation, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and obviously that's massive when you have little ones, infants especially, and then small children. I mean, really up I mean, their whole childhoods, but especially when we're talking about young children, they are almost like borrowing your nervous system. And
Hmm.
so it's really important that you understand that and that you have what you need to be regulated. And you're not going to be perfect. Like I think there's also
Yeah.
maybe a misunderstanding that you as a parent should just be like almost like stoic and stay
Mm.
calm no matter what. And it is really awesome when you can pull that off. And let's say your child is having a dysregulated moment, which is normal, right? They're learning emotional regulation. They're learning,
Hmm. Hmm. They're even just learning what emotions are.
yeah,
Like,
they're learning everything
like
about the world at once. So if
yeah,
you're,
they're not like, and that's what I think, like, in my opinion, I'm not a parent, like, right? But like I have a little niece, she's what, how old is she? A little over 1 years old. She's like 15, 16 months. And like I just like I like she's very I would say like very regulated. I don't know what my brother and my sister-in-law are doing and that like keeping her, or maybe, it could just be innate in her, but I rarely see her, like lashing out or having these big emotions, which is like if I am, I like, that's why I think you kind of just let them not
Mhm.
self-soothe, but you let them experience it because like you always forget as an adult. I feel like that might be the first time they're experiencing whatever emotion they're experiencing.
Yeah, totally. Well, and I think what's interesting about what you just said and is a good example or a good point is like we don't want them. They don't know how to self-soothe. They're not supposed to
No,
self-soothe.
no.
They are supposed to be regulated with the help of a parent. And so like that is exactly like if they're having a big experience, that's not a problem. There's nothing wrong with them.
Oh,
They're feeling
yeah.
an emotional thing. And then as the parent, it's your job to sort of help them through that, which doesn't include like knowing how to regulate yourself when you're getting agitated or what we might say is like triggered or upset in some way. Um, and just being with what's there for them without trying to like squash it or need it to change. Yeah, it's big work.
Well, yeah, and I love that the you you're right. They mirror us and they gain as they're little. I always say like children are just little sponges and just they just absorb everything, whether it be nervous system regulation, whether it be learn like behaviors. They just take it all in, whether you're noticing or not. And that's what I think a lot of people perhaps like miss, and what I love that you give people the tools to regulate themselves, because that's also something as a parent, like, you talked about like when you start to be a parent, like you realize like as this little mirror is following you around, and it's like, oh, like maybe that's a blind spot for me, and that's impacting them now. And that's why, I mean, I think nervous system regulation is so important, because you don't want to, I hate to say it, like train their little nervous system to be in a fight or flight all the time. Like that's not going to be good for their mental health, their wellness. Like, so if you're always, let's just say, like, I'll just use an example, right? Like, if you're always stressed on the go and can't calm, like, that's what you're teaching your little one. Like, that's normal.
Totally. I think they did a study, who's they, right? But somebody did
Yeah,
a
right. I
study.
know. I say that all the time. I'm like, that's the one question when I'm like on my deathbed, I'll be like, can we just tell me who these they people are? Like, I would just love to know who these they people are. Anyway,
So
sorry.
somebody did a study and they determined that like the leading cause of anxiety in children is actually like a rushed environment, which I think so
Mhm.
many of us grew up in, right? Like
Yeah.
that's just what we know. And so as I think what's a marker of this generation, the people who are becoming parents now, um, we are trying to teach our children emotional regulation, emotional intelligence, nervous system regulation, all the stuff, while we are actively learning it, because we were not taught it in childhood and at a young age. And
Mhm.
so, for the example of anxiety and rushing, I grew up in a household where I was rushed, where I was told like just get the shoes on, let's go, let's go. And so that's what I know. That's the pattern that I absorbed. That's the pattern that I know. That's how I'm
Yeah.
going through my life. And now I have this knowledge that like, oh, hey, that's not good for my kids. Also, it's not working for my kids. It's not working for either of us if we take that, like if I'm just repeating the pattern, now I'm getting frustrated, they're getting
It,
anxious, everybody's upset. But I also am building a new skill set of how to not rush and be in that frenetic
hmm
energy. And so I have to find that balance of like, or not even balance, but the recognition that I'm trying
hmm
to teach a skill while I'm actively still learning it. And this is across the board. Like for people with young kids now, I think this is really common. Most of
It
us
is.
did not grow up with emotional intelligence. We were not shown how to do this. And yet we're here trying to teach our kids how to do it while we're still learning it. And I think for me, one thing I always tell my clients, and I would tell everyone listening today, is it's okay to name that to your kids.
Mm.
Okay to say, rather than acting like you're getting it all right and they're getting it all wrong when that's clearly not happening, it's like saying like, we're figuring this out together.
Together.
And
Yep.
I
I love
also
that.
sometimes feel so angry and I don't know what to do with my body. And like, here's some things that work for me. Can we push a wall? Can we throw a pillow back and forth? I really like throwing a pillow at the floor as hard as I can. Can we do that together? Right. And so
Mhm.
you're literally, you have to model it. And that will include like times you make mistakes. Maybe you have an outburst and you yell when you don't mean to. And then you find that sense of repair. So taking accountability for that lack, like, oh man, like you didn't deserve for me to snap at you like that. I'm feeling really frustrated about work. I'm feeling frustrated that we're late, whatever it is, but you don't deserve that. What are some things I could have done differently? Or next time I'll go outside and take a breath. Next time I'll try pushing a wall, whatever skills you're working with, right? Or whatever works for you, being authentic about what works for you as you explore what works for them.
Yeah,
And
that's
a
a
leading edge.
great point. Like it's like I always like to use the metaphor of like you're flying the plane, you're building the flame while you're flying it. It's like and and also too, I think it's interesting with like nervous system regulation is like yes, we all have these set emotions, right? Like we all experience anger and sadness, but they're very situational and you're not going to react to every emotion or have the same body sensation for like that's not the way our bodies work. We're not that like predictable. Like we are, but like so like you could experience an emotion and have a different reaction your whole life, every time. And then
Hmm.
that's literally you're learning every single experience. Like of course, like that's when your tools and as you said, recognizing things are super helpful in gaining that that personal insight about yourself and learning more about yourself. But I love, you brought up a great point, just about that like we are literally like building the plane as we're flying it. It's like and I think that's a lovely advice of giving telling, as I said, we're doing this together. This is a learning experience for both of us.
Yeah. Yeah. Giving yourself the grace to make mistakes is a big part of being a parent.
Hmm
And modeling accountability. So
hmm
modeling when you have a big feeling and it being really hard. Um,
hmm
and just like naming that for your children. I think another thing that happened in, sort of how many of us were raised is we were kind of like told, perhaps, right? Some people weren't. Some people were told like no feelings, don't cry, get up. That's a really classic story. But
Yeah,
some of us were
yeah.
told with our parents' voices, like, oh, it's okay to be sad, or, it's okay to be angry, but we weren't given other ways to handle it. So we would be maybe sad or angry, and we would be told like, "Don't hit your sister," right? But we're not
Hmm.
told what else we could do instead. We're just told like, "Don't do this, don't do that." And so they're being told with their voices, "Don't do this, don't do that." But then the modeling, what our parents are showing them, is very different. And so a lot of parents
Hmm.
maybe were showing no emotion. They were showing like they weren't crying, right? They weren't getting angry. They were being very stoic and hiding their emotional experience, but then telling the children like, "Oh yeah, like everybody feels sad." But it's like, "Do you feel sad, mom? Do you, I don't see you feel sad." And so it's
Hmm.
finding that because you don't want to also be like a wreck in front of your kids and have them have to take care of you. That's not, it's not where we want to be either. But recognizing like if something big happens and you're having a moment and you're feeling sad about it, like just allowing your kids to see you and just be like, yeah, I'm really sad. This happened. I feel sad about that. And like, I'm here. You don't need to take care of me. I got this. I'm still safe. But like, I'm sad right now. And I'm going to move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that because I think sometimes, and I'm not a parent, but I would love your perspective on this. Like sometimes you almost want to, like, because you're right, like you don't want, and this is my family therapy brain coming out. You don't want your children to be parentified. Like you don't want your child to be taking care of you in the moment. But I think showing them that like emotional expression is okay is super powerful.
If it's healthy too, yeah. Like
Yeah.
really. Like the especially the moments that like you have a little cry and then you move on, right? Like that's a
Yeah.
healthy expression of sadness and
Yeah.
right? To hold it in isn't healthy, nor is it to like let it take over your whole world. It's like finding that like, oh, and that's regulation, right? So it being dysregulated isn't a problem unless you're unable to like come back, right? Like
Hmm.
to be like, oh, like I'm thrown off or overwhelmed or sad or angry, like those things are part of the human experience and to manage them in a healthy way, like to say like, oh, I'm feeling a lot of anger about this, so I'm gonna like express my anger in some way. I might even have an outlet. I might go outside, whatever you're working with. But then watching that happen, healthy anger, and then coming back into like regulation, that is crucial modeling, right? If
Hmm.
they're never modeling how to process or use or move through anger in any way, that doesn't serve them either, right?
No,
Telling
no.
them how. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, I think it too. It comes like, and I like at the end of the day too. I like love that we're talking about. I can talk about feelings. Like this is like I love feelings. I just have a big like I'm a feeler, and I think like they matter. And at the end of the day, like if there's like think about any relationship in your life, right? Like I can only imagine. Like of course, family and parent and child relationship. I can't think of any more emotionally connected relationship that you have. I mean, like, of course, spouse and whatever partner, life partner, like that's, but like, this is a also like if you have a biological child, there's a wiring there where you are super connected and your emotions are going to come up. So, and I know there's also studies, and I think we talked about this on our first call, was like that, like your modeling and even your your anxiety levels when you're pregnant like in your body and your nervous system state then can be I guess translated or what's the word I guess maybe like you're obviously it'll be passed
Yeah.
down to your child when when they're born, and that's something that we have to be mindful of.
Yeah, we have to be mindful of it. It is also hard and a little bit scary. Like we take on so much um these days, especially as parents and in pregnancy, of like trying to control everything and make everything perfect all the time. And so
Hmm.
it is really hard when we have that narrative about like, oh, if you're too stressed during pregnancy or you having that, you know, let's say you're having, yeah, like you have a really stressful pregnancy for some reason, something happens in your life, and then we're being told like, oh, you're impacting the genetics that are turning on for your child. You might negatively impact your child, and I'm like, oh man, like we already have enough to worry about. Like if we're like beating ourselves up for being too stressed out when we're pregnant and like hurting our future unborn children, like whew, like that's a lot. Like we always just are doing the best we can. And there is so much pressure in parenting and it starts in
Oh yeah,
pregnancy to like be perfect all the time and
I
get it
know.
always right. And it's just not realistic and it's not helpful to try to hold ourselves to that perfection standard. And some of us are really good at it. So some people, probably you're one of them, have like managed to make it through life, like being a pretty good perfectionist, right? We hear that term recovering perfectionist all the time.
Oh, that's me.
I'm a recovering perfectionist. Everybody's a recovering perfectionist these days, right? But the
Yep.
drive, that drive to get it all right, is a drive to control, right? So it's like, if I get everything right, then no one will get hurt. Then I won't lose love. Then I won't
hmm
like that. I
hmm
mean, when I think about pregnancy, I often, and the way that this shows up of people trying to control their pregnancy and ultimately their birth, they're usually not thinking about motherhood quite yet, but their pregnancy and their birth, the thought pattern or the low underlying belief is like, if I do everything right, then nothing bad will happen, right?
Mm.
And that's just not
That's not
guaranteed.
true. That's not the way
Not
life works.
guaranteed. Yeah,
Yeah.
so we have to be fighting those perfectionist standards, and it comes out like you can't try to have the perfect pregnancy and the perfect um, be the perfect mom to avoid anything bad happening. Bad stuff is still going to happen. You're still going to face challenge. Your children are still going to face challenge. So the goal is not to get it all perfect so nothing bad happens. The goal is to learn how to be with the challenge and the bad stuff. And when your kids have hard feelings, when your kids have big challenges, you're able to be with them, right? If you've always perfected your way out of any hardship, then you're going to feel like you failed or you let somebody down if something bad happens, right? But it's not on you. Your job is to be with and to help your children learn to be with their own experiences as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I loved you're right there. And it's so funny you said that because I like that's where I think too. And I will say I struggle myself like and that's why I think healing is so important when you're like on your individual journey because of what you just said, because like the impact you have as like a parent to child, and then even take a step back and to look at the lens from a systemic view, like because they know like generational trauma passes down from like it's not always you're not always carrying everything that you know it's not always your they say it didn't start with you,
Yes.
but the same is true I feel, and we don't say this enough of cycle breakers and healing. Like healing is something that can reverberate through generations
Oh, yeah.
too. And that's why I think it's so important you talked about like I mean I'm a millennial, so I'm like well I'm 37. My parent like you look at generationally, my parents were boomers. Like I think that's why like our I'll blanket us like this generation is so hyper focused on emotional regulation, helping their children process their emotions, nervous system regulation, because we saw the impact of having parents unfortunately that didn't have those tools. And
Hmm.
honestly, it's not their fault. Like I mean, it just wasn't they didn't have the resources. Mental health was in a very different space back, when we were being raised. Like it's not their they weren't doing it out of like malice to like, it was just the times.
Totally. I mean, I think about my grandmother, and I would say like maybe hypercriticism, like being very critical of each
Hmm.
other, something that happened from my mother to me, and then I did it to myself. And it definitely came from my grandmother, who I also experienced being quite critical of people around her and myself as a child. And when I, as an adult, look at her life, I'm like, oh yeah, like I get it. Like she was
Makes
on
sense.
the
Yeah.
depression. She had 10 brothers and sisters, an alcoholic mother. They were in and out of foster care. Like you had to be pretty fucking, I'm sorry, pretty
No,
perfect.
you could curse on the show. We're good. We're good. You're good. Don't worry. I'm from New Jersey. I literally like, don't worry, I get it.
Like you
Yeah.
had to be perfect to survive. Like you couldn't just be like the bad kid. You had to get everything done. You had to be like watching out for getting it all right as a survival.
Yeah.
Like you needed to. It's very real. And so, when we grow up in what we might deem like a safer environment where we're not actively fighting for survival, it could seem harsh, like, oh, like that criticism is unnecessary. But in her childhood, like it was a real thing. It makes perfect sense that she would have um, put so much pressure on herself and on those around her to like never get it wrong, to never be needy,
Yeah.
to never need, more than was available.
Yeah. No, I mean it makes perfect sense. You know what I mean? Especially too, I'm sure and I say this all the time to like myself, my clients, everybody. Your nervous system picks up, as you know, on patterns, like everything in life. And if dysregulation and our brains too, if dysregulation is your like version of normal, like that's just what it's gonna default to. Like it's gonna take very active um awareness and and also too being in a healthy environment might feel uncomfortable at first. Um, so if your default and like your normal per se, like quote unquote, is dysregulation, like yeah, you're gonna stay stuck in that dysregulated state because your nervous system doesn't know what healthy feels like
Totally.
you
Yeah.
know and it's not that's not and like also not your fault like of course like now we're there's so much information like I think there's just I love that I will say like I love we're in this space now just as like a mental health professional. I'm like we got here like we're like I love that like I can and I would actually have I'm sure this I don't know working with your clients depending on how educated they are like psychoeducation and things like that. Like I don't even know with my clients, like depending on who I'm talking to, I have to be really careful of like you even using these terms like regulated, dysregulated. Like I have to adjust my vocabulary a little bit because people like I mean, some people pick it up right away, but some people are like, "Oh, like what does that mean?" I'm like, "Oh, like it means like if when you're overwhelmed." Like you know what I mean? Like versus when you're calm. And like so even I just love that even like this mental health verbiage is kind of so second nature to people nowadays, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it's becoming more popular. But I
Yeah.
mean, the flip of that is like it's becoming misused and misunderstood as well. So
Yes.
trying to
Oh
make
yeah.
the same page.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think with anything, like I'm learning, and my therapist has told me this, like especially with mental health, like and anything, like it's a pendulum. And I'm not saying that it'll swing back and forth, right? And like right now we're like really into like nervous system regulation and stuff like that, and then it'll swing another way, and then we just have to kind of go with the times and do the best we can.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
Yeah. So what I guess because your work with your clients, like what advice could you give to any parents listening that are like, am I like kind of like do I like, do I like am I like am I regulated? Like what can I do to even like notice if like I'm making like, I'm dysregulated. Like what impact is that making on my child? Like what are some like early not I guess not I don't want to call them signs, but like some things you can note or like in like maybe like in your state and then maybe like the reaction of your child that are like, oh, maybe I am dysregulated and it's my kid's picking it up.
Yeah. Man, such a big question, right?
I
Because
know,
it's
I know. I know it's also so individual too. So I apologize. It was a very
right.
broad
No,
question.
you're fine. And I think like I almost would just turn it around and be like, so often we are seeing some problem, what we would deem a problem in our child, and getting really frustrated by it. And I'm not saying that every parent should like blame their own experience for what's happening for their child, but if you see that your child is struggling in some way, and whether that's like they're having a lot of outbursts or they're seeming sensitive or they're like crying. I think this is actually a big one that I'm seeing a lot of in kids. It's like they kind of have these like meltdowns that they're crying, crying, and they can't seem to stop, right? So it's happening for a long time. It's getting to the point where they can't help themselves and they need your help. Um, if you're witnessing these things in your children, it's a meaningful time to also be like, well, where am I not holding space for myself? Where am
Hmm.
I not allowing myself to be calm and grounded? Where might this child be needing more stability from me and they're not able to get it, right? Um, and so it's almost like using them as a mirror of like, we might be thinking we're doing okay because we're walking through the world using our patterns, healthy and unhealthy alike. But if our child is having behaviors or seeming like they're like we could say like oh they're so dysregulated, well then there is going to be something that's related because as you named like your nervous system and their nervous systems are so closely related, especially in young children, and so there probably is a place that you're also needing to support yourself, right, while you're
Hmm.
supporting your child. So it's not so simple as like I'm totally healthy. I have all the capacity I could possibly need, and I just can focus on helping my child through this. It's like I want to help us focus on helping my child, and I'm recognizing like I'm probably um, hitting my own edges, or I'm probably
Hmm.
there's places that I could support myself more so I can do this work, right? So
Hmm.
just checking in. I mean, I think checking in with the basics, and this is really sticky with parents. So I think the hardest thing about doing this as a parent is you do not have the time and space for perfect ideal world regulation, right? So ideally, you know this, we're eating nourishing food, we're getting enough sleep,
Hmm.
and
Yep. Oh
we're
yeah.
getting physical exercise. I count going outside as a vital part of being a
Likewise. Yep.
related human. Um, we probably like I don't think we talk about this enough, but you probably have community and connection. So like you have social connection as a part of what's keeping you regulated and healthy and whole. So these are like big things, right? I might be leaving something out, but those are the big ones I think
No,
about.
yeah, no, no, like I wholeheartedly agree with you. Like it comes down to like those basic, like, yeah, what you're eating. Did you go outside? Did you get any direct sunlight today? How much water have you? I mean,
Are you
those are
sleeping?
yeah, sleep to me is one of the I can tell that's my big one. Out of all those things, right? That impacts my mental health probably like because I can tell like I'm irritable if I don't sleep. I'm short fused. I'm not as present. It affects me cognitively the most.
Yeah.
Not
And
sleep.
we know that parents with young children aren't getting those things. We know that
I know, and
parents
that's
aren't
that's
getting
the irony about it, right? Is like it's like they're not getting the one thing that like your body probably needs the most at that moment because of the circumstance, of course.
Yeah, totally. We're not getting enough sleep. We're not feeding ourselves properly. Um, a lot of parents are not able to like get the time to work out and go outside. Let's say you work a full-time job and you have young children, like oof, like getting in regular exercise, getting in regular time outside can be really challenging. Um, and so it's figuring out, and this is where it's I think unique to being a parent versus to not. If you're a solo person, you're just taking care of yourself, maybe you live with a partner or you have a
Hmm.
small unit, you have the ability to rearrange your schedule a little bit to make sure that
Hmm.
we're prioritizing food. You can go to bed at a certain time and know that generally you will get the amount of sleep that you lay before you, right? Like you're like, oh, I have 8 hours sleep. I'm going to go to bed so I can get 8 hours.
Hmm.
Um, and as a parent, it's just not that simple. You can have the best
No, no.
world, and you can get woken up 15 times during the night just because you have a 1.5-year-old and they're going through something. Um, it's not as easy as like, oh, I want to find time to work out, so I'm going to find time to work out.
Hmm.
As a parent of young children, like I just took years off from like regular healthy exercise, you know? I mean, I still did my best to get out and
Yeah.
move, but not in the way that I did when I was in my 20s and early 30s and I was just myself, when I could like go to the gym for hours at a time and I knew what my body needed and I could go to a class and I could run outside, I could hike in the mountains. And with kids it's like hiking is a great example. So many people are like, "I love hiking. Hiking is something I need." Dude, when you have a child who's like between I want to say one, because up to one you just carry them. But like
Yeah, yeah, they're their best sack of potatoes.
yeah, but when you've got that kid who's like 1 through 7, getting out for a hike is like, oh my God, they don't want to go. You have to pack all this stuff. They can't walk very far. Like the little toddlers, like you can walk a quarter mile total and it takes you hours, right? And so you're not getting that need as an adult met that you used to rely on to stay centered and grounded and have your mental health and your regulation like steady, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No,
How
and
do
I
you?
will share. I'm not a parent. I'm a solo person, and I look at you parents, and I'm like, how do you people do this? Like, I do aspire to be a parent one day and start a family, but like I look at my life now and I'm like, if I and I people in my I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a student, I'm trying to have somewhat of a social life. Like I have, relationships and I look at my life, I'm like, if I was a parent right now, I was like, I don't know if I would be able to do this. Like like I question it. I'm like, it's like, I mean, I'm like, thankfully, I'm like not like of course you can like plan, hopefully plan these things ahead, but I was like, right now it's just like I have too much going on, and I can't even imagine adding something I need to take care of that is unpredictable and like I'm responsible for this other life in the midst of that.
Yeah. Well, what happens is your priorities shift. And
Yeah.
so you just have to kind of rebuild
Yeah.
your priorities and your values are, or like not, you
Mhm.
just kind of have to rebuild how they show up, not what they are. Sorry.
Of
Um,
course.
and so that's kind of my advice of how to do that is let little bits count. Let little
Hmm.
times matter. Go outside and stand in the sun and like let that be enough. Take your kids to the park and let that be enough, right?
Hmm.
Exercise is a really hard one. Find classes you can take your kids potentially if exercise is a big part of your life. Those are becoming more and more.
Yeah, or go to a gym that has like the child care. I know a lot of gyms do
Those
that
are-
now, with, like the
Yeah, and
child
those are still
care.
tall orders, but it's like, what do you need to do to make it count? So maybe you can only get in a 10-minute workout, right? Where you used to go for like 90 minutes.
Hmm.
A 10
Yeah.
minutes because that's what you get, you know? So you got to just find your way through. It's not an easy answer or an easy fix.
And also too, I like it's not like one size, it's like with everything in life, right? Like with parenting, like one size does not fit all. Like, you know what I mean? It's like your what you need as a parent would be different than what other people need. And I think too with I think it's hard and I can only imagine because I feel like there's so much pressure on more pressure I think than there ever was on parents. And like to be that like perfect and whatever, and also too just overload of information. I think just like being a parent in this generation is just so much harder than it was, and that's not because it's the parenting and the job itself is easier. I think it's just like because of social media, because of the information, because of kids have access to screens earlier on. You know what I mean? Like, there's just so many societal factors that play into like, even just like adding just so much like to this already like very, very intense pressure cooker of being
Hmm.
a parent.
Yeah, totally. There's a lot.
Yeah. So I don't know how you parents do it. And then on top of it, like making sure you're regulated and you're calm. It's like how like the model like isn't it, you have to really, it's like, I always say like your mental health, if you're focused on being regulated and whatever, and prioritizing your mental health, like that's also a full-time job. Like I know how much work that they call it inner work for a reason. Like it's work,
Mhm.
like like, and there's only so many hours in the day.
Yeah, I think there's a really common, I think a lot of people think now like, oh, being a parent is so hard. And I, it's funny because I think often that relates to or ties back to sort of the older way of parenting of like, oh, your kids are driving you crazy. Oh, they need so much from you. Oh, you got to feed them all the time. Oh, you got to help them all the time. And that stuff's very real. But I think the plight of like the modern parent and why modern parenting is so hard is that what I've found is you are constantly nonstop having to hold your own inner experience while parenting. And
Mhm.
so I had no idea, and a lot of my clients had no idea that you would have to be doing so much holding of your own wounds, of your own
Yeah.
child, your own patterning while you're doing this, right? So I think a really good example is like you are going to get the kids that mirror the parts of you that were unlovable or challenging as a child. You just are, right?
Yep.
Just and it'll present in different ways. I have two kids. They're very different. They both absolutely show me the parts of me that were unlovable. Right? I like it's
Interesting.
so different, but they both are me.
But
Um,
like you're right, like they both are like almost that version, that wounded child of you that.
right. And so you have to see your child doing whatever behavior it is. I'll take a really easy example. I have my older kid is what you might deem like a highly sensitive person. I was too as a child. I have
Hmm. Hmm.
really serious memories of like being terrified of fireworks, right? Some kids love fireworks, they're great. It was too loud. It was so
Yeah,
scary.
yeah. Overstimulating. Yeah, yeah.
It was not okay for me as a person, as a kid. And yet I was forced to watch and go to fireworks over and over and over because it was like annoying to my parents that like I couldn't go, right? Like fireworks are
Like, yeah, and they, like, yeah, it's a big part, like Fourth of July and like.
for the night, baseball games, all these things. Right? So I
Mhm.
have lots of memories of like being forced to watch fireworks. And then I have a daughter who is so sensitive and yeah, a lot of things scare her, like ominous music in movies. Like she doesn't watch
That
any
scared me when I was little.
totally. She doesn't watch any movies. She's 8 years old. She like basically watches no
Aw.
movies because it's okay. But as a parent, I feel the way that my parents felt because that was what I was given, right? So I have the experience of being at fireworks with my kid or being like, let's try and watch them. And I, as an adult, would like to watch the fireworks. I would like to just be able to hang out with my friends. I would like to just like, make her stay and be like, you're fine. Deal with it. Why are you like this? Like, why are you like this is a big question a lot of us probably received from our parents in some way or another, like a real invalidation and a lack of acceptance and lovability. Um, and I have to meet that part of me who was not allowed to be afraid of fireworks and hold her while I am making different choices about how I treat my child, right? And so, like, in order to see her and allow her to have that experience and not shame her for it and not find her unlovable for it, whether it's needing to leave the fireworks or running away from the scary scene in the movie that I just want to watch the movie, it's like, it's a both and. So I have to hold her and be like,
Hmm.
okay, let's go. Let us, like, let's get in the car and drive away. Like, we tried the fireworks. We're not doing it today. We're gone. We're out of here, right? Like, I have a plan to leave while I am actively fighting the patterning in me that makes me want to not do
Hmm.
that. So it's not so simple as you just make the right call. It's like I'm holding both. Like, I have to create being the mom for her I want. And I also have to recognize, like, all of the internal stuff that's happening for me because
Hmm.
I didn't receive that
Yes.
because I didn't receive what I needed, I have to watch it, right? Like there's not an easy answer. It's not like I'm just holding my inner child. Sometimes I am, but sometimes it's like just recognizing like we don't, it's really hard to give your kid the thing that no one would give you. It is really hard.
Yeah, because you and also too you were never modeled that. So you're like not to say you're coming up with it on the fly, but that's not a little thing. You know
No.
what like these are deep things. And I have just a quick question. Just I'm very curious, what is your how do you feel about fireworks now as an adult? Are you
Um,
still
I'm okay with them. We grow up. I don't like love fireworks. They're
Yeah, it's
still
not like you're like, let me go out and like yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they're still very loud, but I like the social aspect. I mean, I think it's kind of like what
Yeah.
we do in some ways. I wouldn't personally like seek fireworks out, right? But
Yeah, no, I get it.
but all the time you're somewhere and it's like happening and you're like, okay. And so
Yeah.
to like not be able to participate in that social experience is really hard. Uh,
Hmm. True.
yeah, but I definitely do like I rub up against it. Like I see that it would be easier to just do to her what my parents did to me. Like that would be easier, right? It's hard work. The work
Yeah.
of being a parent that's hard is to like, oh, like feel it all while you're trying to make the right decisions for your little one.
Yeah, and I'm sure. I mean, I know I'm sure like from what you just described, like of course like the experience of your child is going to bring up feelings within you. Like you're only human, you know what I mean? Like that you go back to that. Like we have our bodies have muscle memory and it reverts right back. Like I always say like it's some or forgive me, I don't know if it was you, but somebody told me one day and I love this metaphor of like you as like 'cause like we're ourselves, but like we're all parts of ourselves and whenever like a wound happens or something that you go back to like the air you were in your trigger, you go back to the age of like what when that wound happened. And it's almost like somebody once told me like who's driving the car. So like if you're reacting to something, it's like, is it adult Danielle? Is it, 16-year-old Danielle? Is it 2-year-old Danielle? It's like who's driving the car when you're having that reaction. And you always like whatever you're triggered by or having a reaction to, you will go back to whatever version you were when that happened, when you had that experience.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. It's and so now you have somebody in the back seat. You're like, this
Exactly.
is
Well, exactly.
the
But
car.
they're always, but that's the thing, like whoever's driving the car, yes, like at the moment. But yeah, oh yeah, there's like a bus of people
Are
and
you
that
gonna
you're carrying around.
Yeah, are you going to let your 2-year-old self drive your 2-year-old around, or are you going to let them, try to come in as your like healed magnetic adult self, right, to drive
Yeah.
that? It's
And
so
also
much.
too, like, like I want to like normalize for everybody. I'm sure you too, like like we're parent or not, like we are all only human. Like as much as we like want to predict and of course we want to control, right? And like whole point, I always say this to my clients, it's like the point of nervous system regulation is not to never feel again. Like, we are human. We're gonna have feelings. We're gonna have reactions. It's just like you're able to like have the tools and able to become more resilient in those experiences that are maybe uncomfortable or you're experiencing a feeling that isn't ideal in the moment. Like you're just able to like work through them in a more productive manner. It's not it I'm not saying don't like process it. Like don't it's actually better like but it's like what you have to sharpen your, toolbox. You have to make sure your tools are sharp so you can use them.
Yeah, yeah. Feelings aren't bad. Being dysregulated isn't bad. It's about like coming back, right? Like how do you
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like that's what I think there's this like like misconception in society of like, oh, like being dysregulated is bad. It's not bad. It's just like don't like live there. Like I always say like it's a place to visit. You can visit it, like stay as long as you need to, but like I wouldn't live there for too long because that's when like it could get a little messy.
Yeah, totally.
You know? Like it's like, don't like I always say don't make it a place of reference, not a place of residence. Like don't set up camp in there because, like don't live there for too long.
Yeah, when a lot of us are like it's not really our fault necessarily, but like some like that chronic stress state or that
Well,
chronic
yeah, I mean,
caring.
adults, right? Like parent, I can only imagine you talk about parenting and the pressure. Like, I don't think there's any more stressful role in life than being a parent. I can't think of like one other one. Like that I can't like, to me, like just me personally, on my stress levels, like that to me seems like the like probably one of the most stressful roles ever somebody will assume in their lives.
Yeah, and then you have to do it while you do everything else, right?
Yeah,
Like you don't give up your other roles. Like you also still have to like work and you also still have to be a partner and you also still have to like do all
I
the
know. Add it to the list of things we have to do, right? Oh, your dog is so cute. I remember he in the first on her first call, he was like all over.
Yeah, he's being great. He's being
Oh,
very
good.
good.
Another like, animal parent. You're a dog mom or a cat mom or a cat dad or dog dad. Very real too. You have to be very attentive to the our fur babies too.
Yeah. Luckily, like I joke about this because I've had cats and I've had a dog like growing up, but this is my first like dog as an adult. And I know a lot of people get dogs, and they think like, oh, now I know, oh my gosh, dog, what having a kid is like. And I'm like,
No,
that's
it's different, I
other,
feel.
but I think having kids before having a dog actually was like easier because now I like understand.
Yeah, you get it.
I understand his needs, like they're basic. But what's different is with our kids, right? We're aware of like their attachment. We don't want to give them like attachment issues and we don't want to give them like abandonment issues and we don't want to do all this stuff. Like so we're really careful about how we interact and how we treat them so we don't like give them, later issues in life. And with my
Mhm.
dog, I'm like, no, you can be well behaved to earn my love. Like I'm okay with that, right? Like I don't
Yeah.
want my kids to have to be well behaved to earn my love. Like that's not cool, right? But I'm like, I don't care if you like think you have to be perfect to earn my love. That's okay. You can have attachment issues. You can have as long as you're not like a bad dog. Like I'm not gonna hurt my dog, obviously, but it's funny, like
No, yeah, no, no.
too much pressure. Like I'm
Yeah.
okay if my dog like thinks he has to be well behaved to be loved. I don't feel that way about my kids. I definitely don't want my kids to feel they have to be well behaved to be loved. I want them to know they're loved no
Yeah,
matter
all
what.
the
So like,
time.
yeah, my dog, you could be good. You
Yeah,
can
well, that's another thing. I think it's still totally different, but and you just totally like opened my eyes and sorry, this is like such a random thought 'cause you're talking about like attachment, like the concept of dogs, like basically all dogs. I mean, whether you buy like rescue, buy whatever, and no judgment, are all like separated at birth from their birth mom. Like they're all adopted in some way or given, And then
yeah.
that I'm sure like that. I mean, obviously I know what attachment. I mean, I'm not saying I'm gonna be like the dog attachment therapist, but I think that's just interesting that like pretty much all dog like most dogs, let's say most dogs are detached from their mothers
Oh,
very
yeah.
early, like and when they're early on in life, and that's like very normalized. Which I know there's some dogs that stay with their birth moms, but most of them don't.
No, and then we attach them to their adopters, which is good.
Exactly. Yeah, they're
I love my
adopters, and that's
dog.
the
I
and
love
that's
my
why I think the
dog.
bond is also so strong there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, boy.
Well, Jenna, this has been such a wonderful conversation. I always love talking to somebody who just like I would say just like gets it. Like you under like the nervous system regulation, I could talk about all day. But where can
Totally.
people find you if they want to work with you? What channel are you most active on? Let everybody know.
I would send them to my website, which is my name, jennawalenga.com,
Perfect.
JennaWalenga.com. And I'm active on Instagram at The Birth You Want is my handle. The Birth You Want. I'm talking
Amazing.
a lot about birth over there. Yeah.
Awesome. I will definitely keep those and put those in the show notes. And thank you so much, Jenna, for being with me today. I appreciate
Ah,
you.
perfect. Thanks, Danielle.
Of course. And as usual, everybody, you can find the Feeling and Healing podcast on YouTube at Feeling and Healing, as well as Apple Podcasts and Spotify.